welcome back to The Good Talk, where we talk about what's hot, what's grot, and everything in between, both Warhammer and otherwise. Hi, Liam.
I'm very sad that whenever that little intro goes off, people don't see Lindsay behind the camera dancing to it on the deck.
The music is pretty great.
I'm really sad. We can't even hear the music because she's got the headphones on the producer's desk. She can hear the music and she's just dancing away, and I'm like, I don't get to hear the music.
I'm sad you can't hear it.
It's like music from our childhood. We can't actually pin down what it's from.
Yeah.
But it's definitely some cartoon from our childhood.
Yeah, I was watching her groove and I was like, I don't get to groove. I just have to sit. I can pretend.
You can pretend?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever watched one of these? Like, you can...
Yeah, no, of course. I know what it sounds like, but I can't just join in here.
Yes,
But,
you can.
Yeah. That is pretty great music.
Anyway.
And our new intro also has pretty great music.
That's cool.
I was bopping along to that one, too.
Yeah.
Really cool, yeah. That's a cool intro.
Well, Liam, we just got done with a pretty awesome game. It was Eldar against Knights. Two factions that we have strong opinions about. The whole internet has strong opinions about. But two factions that we truly love.
I love, but yeah.
Like, you love Eldar, I love Knights. You also love Knights. I hate Eldar. But that's not anything to do with 10th edition.
No.
That's something to do with John being the only person I played for like 2.5 years of Warhammer.
I get it.
What wild and crazy factions. They do have a lot of theme in the books. They do some crazy stuff. And I think both of us are excited to see changes for these factions.
Yeah, I think when you look at everything that both books can do, I think it actually would be pretty fair to say that I can see what they were trying to do with it. And I don't want to knock, like I've said this on some of the streams that Adrian and I have done, I don't want to knock GW for trying to maybe take a deeper sort of path towards narrative rather than towards just making things competitive necessarily. Yep. So I get what they're trying to do with Fate Dice, I get what they're trying to do with the Code Chivalrix, I get everything they're trying to do with, and I actually think if you really stop and look at both of these factions, from a narrative perspective and their rules, they're actually not...
They're very cool.
They are incredibly cool from a narrative perspective. And the problem I'm finding is when you find some of the certain combinations, I mean, Knights maybe not so much with combinations, but Eldar specifically, certain combinations and how you can use their faction rule alongside their army rule and some of the things that some of the weapon systems can do, all of which probably in a vacuum are incredibly narrative and really cool. But then you put them all together and jumble them all up and go, this is what I can do when I put it all together. That's when it gets a bit crazy. I don't want to see necessarily sweeping changes to the Eldar book. I most definitely don't want to see skyrocketing points across the board so that I can take less of my cool Eldar toys that I love. So there's a couple of things that I want to see them do. And the biggest one for me is just calming down Fate Dice slightly. And it doesn't even need to be a complete nerf into Oblivion. If you apply it the same way you apply Miracle Dice, where you give 1 per unit per activation, it's still very good, very strong. You don't need to, like I say, add massive points increases all over the index. I think it kind of tones it down to a level where it wouldn't be so mad, or at least as mad as it is right now.
It would certainly bring it down. The Eldar's a weird one because they kind of have it on every angle, right?
Yeah.
They have the same thing as you, but cheaper, often. Their version of the thing is often better. And their faction rule means you never have to roll dice. Or, when you do choose, when you deign to roll the dice, you're like, oh, I feel like rolling dice today. Then you just re-roll them.
Yeah.
So, like, I think they need changes on a lot of levels. I think there's no excuse for a Fire Prism being the cheapest anti-tank tank in the game, while also being the best anti-tank tank in the game. I think that just, like, there's no angle on that. The Fire Prism, what does it not do?
Yeah.
So, like, I want to see a lot of these data sheets changed. I think people talk a lot about Fate Dice, and they're not wrong. Fate Dice make anything absurd. But when you look at D-Cannon support platforms with no Fate Dice, they're still nuts.
They're still pretty good, yeah.
They're still just absurd. And this is an argument that goes beyond Eldar. I know Deathwatch had the crazy combo with the strat that they could get anti-infantry 2-up, and they could take a bunch of assault cannons and their combi bolter, whatever they call it, and people are like, whoa, with the strat and Oath, this is too good, like, we gotta nerf the strat. And then they did, they changed the strat. But then you forget that unit without the strat, with just Oath and their weapons, averages like 15 mortal wounds to infantry.
Do they still?
It's absurd.
Okay.
Like, people forget. So I think we might see multiple passes at Eldar. And I think we might see multiple passes at Knights as well. Because I think once you address the apparent problem of it's a stat wall, of like, do you have enough las cannons? Can you kill a knight turn 1 and then a knight again turn 2 after losing some stuff, after taking casualties. After that's addressed, there's still going to be some outliers. There's still going to be, and fewer, because there's not many knight data sheets, and they hopefully can fix those.
Yeah.
But there are outliers on both sides. During the game, we talked about the Gallant and how like he's just never really going to get to shine. Because...
Currently, no, I agree.
Currently. Because, like, when he costs more than, you know, most of the Questoris Knights, and he doesn't even see combat every game, why? Just why? So like I want to see the outliers on both sides kind of get addressed in both these factions. There's a lot of aspect warriors that are just dramatically overlooked because like why would you take fire dragons when you could take fire prison?
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this at the end of the game, right? In the last stream, Eldar they've done a good job with a lot of the units in the Eldar book for being reasonable, for being sort of relatively balanced. But because of some of the other things that exist, they just don't really have a chance at the moment to see the tabletop because they're just not as good as other things, nor are they anywhere near as efficient.
Right.
And some of those units, if you tone down Fate Dice, maybe you do increase some points for D cannons and fire prisms. I mean, fire prisms at 125 is just flat mad anyway. And but you don't go for sweeping points, little increments here and there. Yeah. You might then start to see scorpions and banshees and stuff like that make the table.
And falcons. There's no reason to take a falcon or a wave serpent right now, right?
I think
and they're so cool.
Yeah, the falcon's whole ability that it gets, where if you get out and you shoot at the same unit, you get to reroll wounds, could be super cool with fire dragons. Some really interesting, cool combinations that currently, at the moment, we don't see. Now, one of the reasons why I'm keen not to go mad with points is I was sat here building my list earlier, and I still couldn't get everything in that I wanted because Eldar have got so many cool toys. That's a really positive thing, by the way, to be clear. It's a really positive thing. The negative thing is when, without really breaking a sweat in turn 1, you can drop a Questoris Knight from the other side of the table. I don't want to be negative. I want to make this very, very clear to your audience. I'm very positive about 10th edition on the whole.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm so really enjoying the games of 10th edition right now. Really enjoying myself. And I think they've done a very good job on the whole. And Adrian and I have talked about this, right? They've dropped a new rule set with 27 new indexes, with all detachment rules, with army rules, with stratagems, with enhancements across the board. There was always going to be problems, and I don't think we can really be too harsh on them.
Well, we've been seeing them address them real time.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen changes come out live before the game even is out. Like, the game's out now, but there were changes before it was out. Like, they're addressing a lot of these issues, which is why we have faith that they will bring down the Knights, the Custodies, the Eldars of the world, possibly the Necrons. We'll have to see. I'm very hopeful.
I'm very hopeful. And I think that what we did tonight, which I think was really important, is I think we showcased some of the crazy stuff. And, you know, we did that thing as well. In turn 2, we did that thing where I was like, I'm not going to Overwatch you, turn 1 or whatever it was, because I think this makes it not a game to a point. And I'm glad we at least showcased, hey, this is what I could have done.
Right.
And this is why it would have caused you a problem. And there's a knock-on effect there that we could go down that rabbit hole of how I already used some Fate Dice, so I wouldn't have got them in other situations. But taking that Armiger out straight away, who then came in and picked up a decant, that would have been a problem for you, right? And I think, if I'm honest with you, I probably played a little bit loose and fast with the Eldar because I was so confident about how much damage they could do. But picking up a Questoris with half your army from the other side of the table with ease.
It's insane. You barely had to roll any dice to do it. It's a bit of an issue, that.
And you know, I'm just a bit sad. Eldar are my favourite faction. I don't want people out there to go through this experience where they walk to a table with any of their armies, be that Knights, be that Eldar, be that Custodies, and someone looks at them and goes, ugh, I don't want to play
No,
this.
yeah. And I've experienced that with Custodies before, and I can feel it now that, like, if I wanted to play Custodies and I wanted to play with a stranger, I know that it would probably not be a great experience for them.
Yeah.
And I'm cognizant of that. I'm aware of it, and so I just won't play Custodies with people. Like, unless they ask me for it, I'm just not going to put anybody through that. So, like, yeah, I'm with you. And I don't think anybody should ever feel shame for playing the army that they just want to play.
Agree.
Like, there's a difference between, like, meta chasers who are just playing what's strong and people who just play the army they love and it happens to be good right now. And probably there shouldn't be shame in either of those. Those have appropriate environments.
Of course they do. Absolutely.
But nobody should ever feel shameful for just playing the army they love. And I think a lot of Eldar players right now feel ashamed. when they roll up to a table, it's like, I feel bad.
So I had this in 7th edition. Years and years ago, obviously, but I had this in 7th edition, and I went to a tournament, and it's such a horrible experience. It sticks with you about how another person behaved, and all you've done is walked up to a table and said, "Hey, I'm Liam. I'm playing Eldar," and it's just not pleasant. So I think one thing I will say, you've mentioned it a couple of times. GW are showcasing right now that they are jumping all over issues really, really quickly, and I think that's a real positive. I think from our perspective, we get to put this on the screen now. I think we would be naive if we didn't think that in some capacity at least GW will see what we've done tonight and see what we're showcasing. And I've gone, because the thing is, if you think about the game in general, right, was there really many moments where something didn't point at something else and it just died? It just happened all game. Like, I feel like get rid of that thing now. It's gone. It was more like checkers than 40k.
Yeah.
It's just, you're dead, I'm dead, you're dead. That's what happened all the game.
That is a pretty serious fundamental problem. But it also got to the point where we didn't even really have to play 10th edition.
Yeah.
You tried to play 10th edition, right? Like, the cards came up and you were like, I'll try to do what the card tells me to do, right? I blatantly ignored the cards for the entire game.
Pretty much.
Because that's something that the power level of these armies almost invalidates the scoring.
Yeah.
Because if they make sure the opponent is dead by turn 3, the cards don't matter.
No.
You have 3 free turns to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in these factions soon. And to be honest, I'm just excited to be playing 10th.
I am loving it right now.
People have to remember this is a beta. We're open playtesting 10th edition. It's out now, but I would still call it a beta. We're still playtesting this edition. It's still very early on, and we're going to find out all the things, and every time they make changes, we're going to find all the new things, right?
So I've said this to my audience a few times. I've said treat it like a public beta because I think that's exactly what it is. And I think, and I don't, and a lot of people have, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people out there have criticised this and said, no, if they're going to sell me a new edition, it should be right. And like I just said to you, right, the amount of changes they've made is not just a new rule book. So people have compared this slightly to the change from 8th to 9th. You have to realise that was kind of an upgrade. 9th was more of an 8.5 than a 9th edition.
Yep.
It was essentially the same edition with some tweaks. And it was so much so the same edition with some tweaks that you could use your old codex. So when that edition dropped, we didn't have another 27 codexes to also fit into this new rule set and make sure it all works, it's all balanced, it's all neat, it's all tidy, and it's all fair. We just had to change the core rules. And then as a codex came out, they did it. And granted, throughout 9th, they perhaps didn't necessarily do the best job. Cough, Votan, things like that.
Oh, there were some... Votan was particularly egregious, but prior to Votan, there were numerous examples.
Of course there were. But this is where they've now gone, we're dropping and replacing and updating, every single faction. And again, then people have compared it to 8th edition, right? When they did it with 8th edition. 8th edition was just indexes. There was no detachment rule, there was no army rule, there was no stratagems, there was no enhancements, no relics, no warlord traits. It was just the data sheets, right? So,
and even still, people are quick to forget. Beginning Index 8th was just a wildfire of nonsense. It was like, here's my 12 Tau commanders, and they all deep strike in, and I'm going to take 45 minutes to move on the first turn, and then an hour and a half to shoot on the first turn, and then you're dead. Yeah. And I won in 1 turn.
Here's my 4 Storm Ravens and Gullymen.
Right.
Good luck.
People are quick to forget how broken previous Index editions have been.
I think to some extent, the start of 8th is possibly worse than what we're at now. I think it's not that bad right now.
No, I think it's great.
When we look at Eldar and we look at Knights, they're probably, Eldar specifically, are probably a little bit too high up on the table. Death Guard and Admech are probably a little bit too low on the table. But on the whole, if we take a big, wide picture of the whole of 10th edition and everything they've done, I actually don't think it's all that bad.
No, I think it's great. And I think the argument of, they're selling us a new edition doesn't hold water because you haven't spent any money on anything. All the rules were free.
So far, yeah.
Yeah, so you can continue to play with the models that you have. You are playtesting 9th or 10th edition.
At the moment, yeah. For the next 3 months, I think it's 3 months I've said until the Space Marine Codex. For the next 3 months, you don't need to spend a single penny on anything. You can have bought Leviathan. You can at some point buy the data cards. You can at some point buy new models. But so far, no penny spent. Yep. If you didn't want the models from the Leviathan, you could just download the core rules. You don't need to spend a penny. You can play 10th edition 40k.
Yeah.
And that's something we should 100% be praising them for. That's a big deal as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
if you told me 5 years ago that GW was going to have digital rules that were free, I would not have believed you. I would have thought you're crazy.
Yeah.
You're lying, or that they're lying to themselves.
As far as the actual game concerned, though, I had a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
thought it was
great.
interesting seeing what both factions could do, but it is a bit crazy. You just have to accept that it's a bit crazy right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's most crazy at the top, but as you go down, you get into more reasonable tactical games where it's like, it's a great time.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the beginning of 10th a lot more than I enjoyed the vast majority of 9th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I'll be honest with you, I loved most of 9th. I kind of got fatigued with it towards the end, but I actually had a really good time during 9th edition. But then I'm normally, in terms of when it comes to playing 40k, I'm normally quite a positive person anyway. Because I play it for, my whole purpose of playing 40k is to enjoy myself, have fun, meet new people. I don't really dive into the competitive scene too much in terms of actually trying to be competitive, so I don't typically come across some of the things that I think would normally put people off or sway people the other way. And to be fair, Eldar and Knights are currently probably two of those things that would put people off, right? But I played it for having fun and enjoying myself, but I did get fatigued towards the end, and this feels fresh and new and exciting and interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm back to being energized at playing the game again.
Yeah.
Which is, not where I was, say, 3 months ago. Really good.
All right. I'm sure in this time that we've been babbling, there are now
Yeah.
more
so
super chats.
before we get into super chats,
Oh.
Chat has been wondering.
Oh.
They were really excited to see the physical cards that Liam was playing with.
Liam.
And now they're wondering about the size.
Of the cards?
Yeah. And Sleepy Gary was asking, are they the same size as MCP cards? What would you say?
I mean, I have some MCP cards over here.
Yeah. I think we decided that the mission cards and the primary cards are like tarot sized. But we're all wondering about these.
So these are definitely not the same size. Those are larger than these.
Okay.
So they're
cool.
bigger than Marvel cards.
They're not quite A5 size.
Yeah.
A5?
Yeah, which is half of A4.
What?
You don't know, it's paper size. So the standard size of a piece of paper that goes
It's
to the printer.
letter. It's 8.5 by 11. It's called letter.
No, it's called A5.
I don't think A5 is 8.5 by 11, is it?
There is a difference in Marvel Crisis Protocol and 40k.
Yes. Okay, there you go, Sleepy Gary.
So they're not the same size. They're in
they're
fact
not.
significantly bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know if these are a standardized size.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't think they're gonna be.
They're not a standardized size.
So this, these are a standardized size because this is a range 3, and this I want to say this is 4 inches and this is 6 inches. So I think this is 4 by 6, and that appears to be 5 by 7.5 or something. That's a
Ooh.
weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go get a tape measure, but do we care that much about the size?
No, I
think
just
it's just
guesstimated it with off of another guesstimation.
They're actually, I mean, they're really nice. I'm a big fan of them. They make my
They're
life so
nice.
much easier. We've been very, very lucky because our postage didn't mess us around and we didn't have delivery issues out of the factory like you guys had over here in the US. We got ours a month ago. We got ours a long time ago. And so at the studio at home, we've been using all of these for all of the factions right from basically playing 10th edition. And they're really nice to use.
You even got all the cards.
Yeah, all of them.
All-
Even Knights.
Yeah.
All the cards. But they're really nice to use, right? The fact that the biggest thing for me with them, if I'm honest with you, is stratagems as well. The fact that I can just pick up one cardboard piece and I can go back to front. What have I got? That's all I need. Bang, put it back down again.
And they're color coded, which is great.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
This is something that my only. I'm trying not to be negative about it because I think these are really good. My only gripe is because they are hot fixing really fast. Some of this stuff might become invalidated after they've been bought, and I have a problem with that. But that being said, they are hot fixing and updating the digital versions at the same time, which is really positive.
Which then means you can go to your local, if in still business, print shop and print them out yourself.
Yeah.
The PDFs are free. That's what I would recommend because these are already. I'm with you. The instant that they change the rules and these are invalidated, I don't trust them anymore.
But the fact that you can just download. So we did the Death Watch review sometime earlier in the week, Adrian and I, and the stratagem in that particular PDF is already updated.
Yeah.
So I don't want to tell people not to buy these, But printing them yourself, I mean, you printed them in the studio with a normal printer on a piece of cardboard, and they're quite nice. Like they'll do the job.
We didn't even take the time to cut them out, which your local print shop would do for you.
Yeah. So like having these rules is incredibly positive. But yeah, they are slightly bigger than Marvel Crisis Protocol. You're right, they're not a standard size. They're slightly smaller than A5 for those of you that know actual paper sizes. I can't believe you've never heard of A4.
I know 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, I've heard of A4, but I've never known what exactly is A4. And I thought it was just like regular, paper
A4 is
size.
a standard paper size that you put in a printer.
Yeah,
That's A4.
but then I've had people like, oh no, it's not the same.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
A3 is two pieces of A4, and A5 is half the size of A4.
Okay, that's cool.
It sounds like some kind of metric nonsense.
It probably is.
Look, if you don't have to figure out like which appendage it represents, like this is an inch and that's a foot. Like if you don't have to do that, what's the point? It's too easy. Metric's too easy, Liam. You don't have to figure out like, well, that's two noses and an ear.
So we know it's too easy. That's why in the UK we use both metric and imperial. We're still in miles an hour.
Hard mode.
We still use miles per gallon.
Yeah, as you should.
Even GW has showcased
But
this.
it's miles per gallon.
GW showcased this because you have to be within 3 inches of a 40mm objective, Bridger. So GW do it in their game.
It's miles per gallon, but you pay by the liter.
Yeah, yeah. But you have to be within 3 inches of a 40mm objective. That's my point.
Yeah.
We do it. Like we do. The whole game is measured in inches. And how do we measure our base sizes? 32mm. Just because we like it on hard mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Keeps the brain matter ticking over. Keeps us smart.
Yeah, that's what it did. Oh.
Beautiful. Hopefully we answered that particular question.
Yeah,
Data cards are awesome,
thank
though.
you for helping us solve that. So now we're into super chats. This one is from Bob Woodhouse. Thank you, Bob. How many armies should a person have? How many is too many to master or too few to satisfy?
I mean, this is a personal choice.
Yeah.
It's not like there's no one answer.
There is.
There is?
27 armies.
Are there still 27 armies?
27 indexes,
Then there's 27 armies?
if you include Imperial.
Wow. So there's 26.
Yeah.
That's not much.
26 is how many a person should have.
I
Every
think
person should have 26 armies.
it's season to flavor. Or season to taste. What is the season to taste? That's what it's called.
Yeah, it's very difficult
it's
to
your
actually
call.
answer this, right? Because people have different tolerances. Some people learn things really quickly. Some people don't. Some people are really good at information retention. Some people aren't. I think
Budgets, different budgets.
I kind of like the idea of if I was to give someone a rough guide without actually knowing who you are and you know the sort of things you like, I typically say to people normally 3 is a nice real sweet spot because you can focus on a faction that's heavy into shooting, for example, one that's heavy into melee, and one that maybe does a bit of both but is really quick and fast. And that way you've got a ton of variety in your 3 different factions. And if you are getting tedious and bored with one, when you switch to another one, it's a very different play style, so it should logically become fresh again.
Yeah.
If you go down the route of having 3 heavy base shooting armies that kind of all do the same thing, I don't know why you do that. It doesn't seem to make much sense in keeping it fresh. And 3 factions to learn, especially with 10th, don't think is that bad.
It's not bad.
I think that's what I'd probably say.
Yeah, I think 3 is a good number. We used to give the advice of hedging across games and saying like, have two in this game and 1, like 2 40k armies and 1 Sigma army. Because as a lot of people experience in 9th, you're not always going to enjoy a particular time period in a game.
Like the last 4 hours.
Like there are people who very much don't like the 10th is a beta.
Yeah.
And they're going out of their minds right now. That's not me. I'm having a great time. And what upsets certain people about a game is going to change. And so what you like or dislike about a game at a certain time is going to change. Like it's person to person. So having sort of a foot in 2 camps and being able to say, well, I'll just play the one that I like more right now. It's very true in armies, and it's even more so true in games. So if you really don't like the way 40k is going at a certain time, you can play Sigmar. You could play Magic. Play anything you want, right? Like diversify your hobbies so that you're not just miserable because you've decided this is the only thing you're ever allowed to do in your life.
Yeah.
and then you just push through when you're not happy. It is much healthier to put down a game you don't like and come back to it than it is to stick with it, be miserable, and then eventually rage quit and never do it again.
Yeah, it is true, but in terms of just 40k, because this is the question.
They didn't say 40k, Liam. They said, how many armies should a person have? I think you should have one weird historical army. I think you should have one naval battle army. I think you should have one
Bob, I'm so sorry.
skirmish game army.
I'm so sorry, Bob. I think, like I said, I think 3 is a sweet spot. We said too few to satisfy. I mean, that depends. So for me personally, if my main army was an Eldar player, I think I could have one army and be satisfied. And this isn't talking about the strength of 40k currently. It's just the fact that
they're diverse.
Eldar have access to tons of diverse units. They have durable stuff. They have fast stuff. They have good shooting. They have good melee. So depending on what your armies are also impacts this question. If you're picking Space Marines, standard Space Marines, they're also pretty diverse. You get a ton of options, lots of things you can do. If you're picking Votan, you've got a significantly reduced number of data sheets, and mostly they're only really any good at shooting. And so maybe you want to then pick World Eaters, who are mostly only good at melee. But again, they're quite a trimmed down codex, there's less options. So it's about like finding that sweet spot for you. What's too many to master? That's very personal.
Yeah.
Again, if you're picking Eldar, incredibly hard army to master because there's so much diversity. If you're picking World Eaters, not so hard. They just run at people and fight them. So I hope that's kind of helped, maybe a bit.
Thanks, Bob.
Go for 3. Not historical and naval. Yeah.
Skirmish.
Yeah, skirmish. Magic. All the other things.
This is from Alex Pete.
Oh.
Thank you, Alex. And Alex says, Liam is amazing.
That's you.
Also, love Bridger. There you go.
That's me.
That's you, yeah. He loves you. I
7.
don't normally get called amazing.
You are
I
amazing.
normally just get abused.
Liam, you are
I'm
amazing.
uncomfortable when I'm not being abused. That's
Oh.
what I'm used to.
You want to go play more 40k?
Wow! Okay, I see how it is. All right, that's fine.
Thanks, Alec.
I get this. What you don't see, chat, is I get this brief. I turn up in SF. I get picked up at the airport, and for the hour drive from the airport down here, the brief is right. Okay, this is Titan Studio. It's Titan's channel, so you can't win. Because what happens? Look at the history of games, and you'll see you can't win. They look at me very seriously.
We rig it.
You can't win here.
This is actually pro wrestling.
Would you like to come back? Yeah, I would like to come back. Well, you can't win. Okay.
Every game is scripted. Every die is scripted.
Yeah. There's little magnets on the bottom of the dice tray.
Mm-hmm. We actually have tape. You can't see it, but there's tape markers on the battlefield for like where we're supposed to move our units.
Yeah, and I'm only allowed to roll certain dice. What happens?
It's all planned.
Like, you're going to play Eldar tonight, Liam, but you're not allowed to win. I was like, it's not believable, Adrian, if I have to play Death Guard Day. It's like, okay, we'll let him play Knights, but you're still not allowed to win. That's what happens.
Thanks, Alex.
I just get beaten. I'm like the Titan stepchild. Go on, what's this next one?
This is from Paladin11. Thank you, Paladin. I agree about the Gallant. Playing games with my brother, and every time I take him in 10th, I seem to always want a different bondsman or weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you only get to pick 2 or 3 bondsman abilities. Do you really want the Gallant, which is either advance and charge or +1 to advance, +1 to charge? It's one of those 2. It's one of those. I think it's advance and charge, which sounds amazing. It's great for 1 turn of the game.
Well, I think the thing is there is nothing that kind of compels you to take that particular option with the current way that all of the data sheets within that book are pointed. And that's the thing. Like, I don't actually think that's a bad bondsman ability.
It's great.
It's costed appropriately.
Which it's not.
And if you look at enhancements, right, depending on how good or bad the enhancement is, depends on whether you're depends on the points you're paying. So if an enhancement's incredible, it's 40, 50 points. If it's average to okay, it's 15, 20 points. And that hasn't kind of carried across, in my opinion, to the Knights at the moment. So what you get is your Gallant's Duty. You can re-roll charge rolls made for that model. Each time that model makes a melee attack, you can re-roll hits. So yeah, re-roll hits in melee, re-roll charges.
But you're basically already rerolling hits all the time because you reroll once.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess
Re-rolling
you could take the +1 to move and advance and charge, in which case you wouldn't be rerolling ones. In which case you do want the full rerolls in combat. But I think he needs to come down in points to see play. Because for the same points as a Gallant, you get 3 Warglaives.
That's a lot, actually.
Right. Like,
that's a lot.
they have combined more combat than him.
Yeah.
And guns.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one thing he does do, I think I agree with you, he does need to come down in points. One thing he does do is he does act as the knight's biggest distraction carnifex. Because you run him towards the opponent as fast as possible, I'm like, well, I need to kill this one first.
Right.
So because I need to kill this one first, I'm leaving the other 2 gun knights
You
away.
leave the Valiant alone.
Yeah, absolutely, because I need to kill this one first.
That's true. That's a good point.
So in that regards, he has more utility, I guess, but he needs to be a bit cheaper. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Thank you, Paladin. This next one is from Amsterdam. Thank you, Amsterdam. Hey, Titans. Eldari unit questions. How are you getting a Farseer into your list? Windrunners as bodyguard or a Warlock Sky Conclave? Guide looks good, but maybe that's 9th impression still?
So I ummed and ahed and went back and forth today about how I did it. Do I put them in with 6 Windrunners or do I put them in with 3 Warlocks? And I went with the Warlocks, and I predominantly went with the Warlocks simply because of that 4+ invulnerable save. Warlocks also get another ability, which I think I forgot all game. I can't remember what it is at the moment. But they do give you something else, which is, have a look. Something else which is semi-decent. The 4-up invuln across the unit means I think he's got slightly more durability than an extra 3 bites in the unit.
Yeah, you buried the Farseer.
If I'm honest with you. And the thing is, they're so fast as well that actually, even with the changes to fly, with a base 14-inch move and access to advanced rolls where you can just use fate dice, or you can use a single CB strat for 6, or just roll it ultimately, I think that they're fast enough to keep themselves mostly out of trouble, as we basically saw today. They only really got taken out on the last turn. Now, granted, there was a moment where there was some obnoxious dice rolling on some saves, but on the whole, they're actually pretty decent. So they get protected as they Warlock Conclave as well. While the Farseers in the unit subtract 1 from the wound roll, so they're actually permanently -1 to wounds.
Wow.
I forgot about that one.
I like that a lot.
They also get a 4-up field pain against psychic attacks, which is okay. When you think about Thousand Sons are going to be prevalent in the meta now because Thousand Sons are very, very good. They get that 4-up field pain against psychic attacks as well, but -1 to wound on that unit means I think that the 3 Warlocks at 3 wounds apiece is better than the 6 Wind Riders at 2 wounds apiece that don't have an invulnerable save and don't have -1 to wound naturally.
That's shocking to me that Fortune is just protect for another unit. That they weren't creative enough to come up with 2 defensive buffs for Eldar.
Well, I just assumed it was the 5-up field pain, that's what it's always been, and now field pain is a keyword, which is why we did that rolling and then had to kind of undo that thing again. But yeah, I kind of agree. I also think Guide is still incredible. Now, it's not as good. Like, for me, Guide was almost instantly an auto-include when we were originally able to do decannons in units of 3 before Games Workshop went, this is a problem, and they changed it before they released the data sheet. So when the data sheets first came out to us in the studio, Warlocks were units of, decannons could be units of 3, and they were 55 points a model. Madness. But I still think now, with Haywire Bikes, which are down to just 2 attacks each, and you've got that 4-up anti-vehicle 4+ devastating wounds, Guide is really good in this army. Really good in this army. And I think there is definitely compelling reasons to still take it. Not forgetting as well, Guide is no longer core and character, it's Eldari unit. You can put it on Night Spinners. You don't need to put it on Fire Prisms.
You can put it on a Wraith Knight.
You could put it on a Wraith Knight. Absolutely you could. You could put it on D-Cannon Wraith Guard, which I think are now an awesome choice as well. D-Cannon Wraith Guard have just got very good. I think they're really good.
It's so much Overwatch.
The way they've hurt D-Cannon Wraith Knights, D-Cannons, not the D-size, not the Flamers, but the way they've hurt D-Cannon Wraith Knights, they make them a 4-up ballistic skill. Guide cares not about a 4-up ballistic skill, because you just reroll.
And especially in Overwatch.
So me personally, Hamsterdam, I still think the Warlock Conclave is the way to run a Farseer Skyrunner because of that -1 to wound that I forgot all game, and the 4-up invulnerable save across the unit. I just think it's better. And there's arguments between Singing Spears and Witchblades. Witchblades are amazing in melee. Wounding infantry on 2+s is quite nice, and infantry 2+. But yeah, that's how I would do it.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, thank you. This next one is from Mr. Wessy256, and tossing out a list idea of Chaos Knights. 1 Desecrator, 1 Despoiler, 2 X Cannon, 1 Tyrant Valiant, 2 Stalkers, 3 Skull Cannon, Thoughts?
I mean, yeah.
I love that all the Chaos Knight players are like, what if I had 3 skull cannons, though?
The skull cannons are good.
No, I get it. It's just like, it's so often we see the reverse where it's like other people are like, what if I put a knight in here? Like, what if my Space Marines had a knight?
Yeah.
What if my guard had a knight?
Now Knight players are having some fun.
And now knight players are like, if I had skull cannons, like, what happens if I just bring a Vindicare and some little trooper guys?
I mean, it's kind of nice that Chaos Knight players can do this because Imperial Knights do get access to things like Vindicare Assassins. So, I'm into it. Skull cannons aren't bad either, Bridger. D6
No, they're
plus
great.
2 blast, strength 9 minus 1, 2 damage. And the big thing is Skulls of the Fallen, and your shooting phase after a shot. It's like one of me. Oh, I forgot this with decals. I forgot when it was hit by one of these attacks. That must take a battle shock test.
Your D cannons give me -1 to hit, right? But everything they shot at died, so.
No, I think they're. Yeah, maybe. I can't remember.
Everything they shot at died, Liam.
This is the thing. I think I forgot half my rules, and that game went that way. I think the Valiant at the moment for both Imperial and Chaos is just too good to pass up.
Yeah.
So he's a good choice. When you say 2 times cannons on the despoiler, I'm assuming you mean 2
Battle
battle
cannons.
cannons.
But they're not called that.
Imagine that.
For Chaos, they're called something else.
4d6 plus 12 shots, Bridger, from that one night is mad. And the Desecrator is the Laser Destroyer and the Fist, I think.
Either melee weapon.
Yeah.
It's Laser Destroyer and Fist or...
I'm still a Fist man. I know you're a Chainsword man. I'm still a Fist man for the Knights. So that's all solid. 2 Stalkers. Which ones are those?
Those are the... they get you while you're alone. They can have a claw and a chain gun, or they can replace the claw with something else, but they're +1 to wound when you're 6 inches away from other things.
Okay. I mean, it's a fun list. 3 Skull Cannons holding your backfield, forcing battle shock tests as you come running in and going, you know what? You're battle shocked. That means I'm +1 to wound. And
Yeah, I like that Chaos Knight players have gotten creative in how to get the battle shock for their own turn. Because relying on your opponent getting battle shocked in their own turn and then being like, I am +1 to wound you, is like, nah, I'd rather have the Skull Cannon thing. That's great.
yeah, it's cool. It's a cool list. It'll be fun.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you. This next one is from Saray. Saray Esco, thank you. Didn't watch. Should I start Knights or nah?
Yes, more Knight players. I dream of the day that I go to a GT and it's just Knights and Chaos Knights. That's it. And we're all playing stompy robots and none of this little model nonsense. It's just Knight on Knight action. It's like Robot Wars, but for toy soldiers. That's what we need, Saray. So yes, more Knights.
Hey, Saray? Yeah. I mean... Your main army is already Custodes, so you're in a good spot, generally speaking.
Oh yeah, you're already hated. I'm joking.
But you do need a Land Raider, Saray. You got to figure that one out. I used a Spartan. You could... We were discussing a Proteus, Saray and I. We were discussing a Proteus. What do you think of using a Proteus as a Land Raider?
It's near enough the same
It's
size.
very close. Closer than a Spartan.
Yeah, minute differences. I'm never going to be a person. So I run tournaments at home. I'm never going to have a problem with someone running a Proteus as a Land Raider.
What about a Spartan? Would you care?
No. So it's bigger. It's harder to hide. It's harder to fit in terrain. It's harder to interact with the terrain rules in 10th edition. If a person came to me and said I want to use a Spartan as a Land Raider in 10th edition, I'm cool with it because as far as I'm concerned, they're hurting themselves slightly by doing that. They're not getting any benefit from it. They're not getting an advantage from it.
Right.
It could be argued that there could be an advantage if they stick the tail out and then they can then shoot something. I think on the whole, they're mostly taking a negative though. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't have a problem with either of those units. But yes, you should 100% start Knights because low model count, fun army to get into, super fun army to play. Yeah. And I think that they're going to tweak them slightly, but I think they're still going to be a lot of fun in 10th edition.
Yeah.
Thank you. This next one is from Dongle Goblin.
Great day. Are you a dongle goblin?
Thank you, Goblin. And your intro music sounds like the old Cartoon Network theme.
Yeah, is it just the Cartoon Network theme? So the intro to this show.
It's cartoon. Yeah?
That unlocked a core memory
yes,
from my childhood.
Yeah.
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 We're going to have to Google this later.
Yeah, no, yeah. Cartoon Network used to run a bunch of ads on their own channel and on other channels. I don't know why they ran ads on their own channel, but they did. And their logo was black and white checkers with the letters Cartoon Network on it. But then they're like hip, new way in the early 2000s to appeal to kids was it was cartoon.
Cartoon.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
you
what
think
it
it's
is.
from?
That's definitely what it's from.
Yeah. It's very similar.
Lindsay nailed it.
I'm gonna have to believe both of
She
you.
brought it back.
Well, it was thanks to chat. Chat, like when we were talking about it, that it reminds us of something.
Yeah.
Chat immediately came in with like Cartoon
Yep,
Network.
That's
and
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's why you get all
Excellent.
the copyright strikes. I see.
We've actually never made $1 off of Good Talk. It's all going to Cartoon Network.
You're keeping them alive, but you're keeping your childhood alive.
Well, this next one is from Michael Cody. Thank you, Michael Cody. Since this is a musical channel now, what songs were the designers listening to when they did Eldari Rules versus Death Guard? Have a good trip back, Liam.
Thank you. I am flying tomorrow night, Bridger, overnight.
You are?
It's weird. I leave here at 10:20 at night, and I don't get home in the UK until 4:30 in the afternoon for a 10-hour flight. Well, I'm out.
Are you going forwards a day or backwards a day?
Go forwards. So a 10
So you
hour,
lose a day.
10-hour flight takes me 18 hours, essentially. It doesn't actually take me 18 hours of actual time, but 18 hours passes.
You got a 10-hour flight?
Yeah. 10 to 11
That's
hours.
quite short. It's so much shorter west to east than it is east to west.
What?
My flight back from Dubai was like 17 hours.
Yeah. My flight out here was 10 hours. See, when you were saying it's too long to come and fly to England, 10 hours, Bridger. It's not long at all. Musical song we listened to when they did Eldari Rules versus Death Guard. I mean, that's hard.
There's a lot of jokes to be made here, but you have to be a lot cleverer than me.
Down.
Like, I just can't. I'm sure there are literally thousands of jokes to make.
Yeah, I think with Eldari they would listen to the Drowning Pool who sang "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor." That's probably that one.
Okay.
Everything just dies.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think on the spot now. I don't know many songs, Bridget.
Right,
Help me out here.
This is the
Help me
problem
out.
where it's like somebody's like, name 10 songs. You're like, happy birthday. The Muffin Man, right? Like you just can't actually name 10
Death
songs.
Guard was probably a Slipknot song, which was people equal something that I can't say on your streams. I reckon, just because I hate everyone who plays Death Guard. I think that fits.
All right.
You hear the song?
I don't know.
Okay, let's not. I'm not gonna. We will move on from that one because I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks, Michael Cody.
It's a cool idea, though. I love the idea of thinking about who was listening to what when, because I went down a different route. I was basically thinking who was smoking what when they wrote these rules, but who was listening to what song when they made these rules for these factions. Thanks, Michael. Though you're a hero. We love you.
Thank you. This next one is from JP Artspace. Thank you, JP Artspace. Can you clarify how tank shock works with units of multiple vehicles?
You just choose one weapon, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to quickly check. Because I don't think mostly with units of multiple vehicles, they're probably not going to be all that good in terms of what they can do.
Well, you could have like a Sidonian Dragoon, the chicken walkers of the
but
lanes.
still. Tank shock, stratagem. In your charge phase, one vehicle unit from your army until the end of the phase. After the unit ends the charge move, select one enemy unit within engagement range of it, then select one melee weapon your unit is equipped with.
Right.
One melee weapon your unit is equipped with.
Yeah.
Or a number of d6 equals that weapon's strength characteristic. So if you pick a weapon that is strength 6 and all three models have a strength 6 weapon, you don't then suddenly roll 18 dice. You just roll 6 because a unit's weapon, singular, has a strength of 6.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And they also don't all need to have that weapon. You choose one weapon off the whole unit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's I don't think in squadrons I still don't think it's a bad choice because you just sometimes you get 6-7 attacks with as an individual model in a squadron, so you still get a ton of dice, and you're still rolling. Is it 4 pluses for mortal wounds?
No, it's 6s unless your strength is higher than their
And then it's
toughness.
5s.
then
That's the one.
fives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
it
think
caps at 6 mortals.
I don't think it's a terrible choice, especially when a lot of melee weapons equipped by vehicles that aren't designed for melee are AP nothing and
Right.
1 or 2 damage.
Yeah.
I think it's solid because remember you also get this in addition to all your melee attacks.
Yeah.
So it's still good, but yeah, you pick one weapon on one of the models that is involved in this charge, and then that's the strength that you use, and you don't multiply it by number of models in the unit.
There you go. Thank you, JP Artspace.
Art space.
Thank you. Thank you. This next one is from Canadian Bacon. Thank you, Canadian Bacon. New to 40k, loving the streams, collecting Eldar, wife doing Thousand Suns. Any recommendations on how to aim for 1k and 2k 40k points as new players? Thank you.
What's the 1,000-point thing called now?
Combat Patrol.
Combat Patrol is a great way to get started in 40k. In previous years, 1,000-point games have always had this name, Combat Patrol, but it often just had the same rules of 40k, just scaled down. And when I say scaled down, I mean you just get less stuff. None of the rules really scaled.
Yeah, the rules were all the same, essentially.
Which, generally speaking, didn't work too well. But now, Combat Patrol has its own set of rules. They've properly scaled the game down. You get different data sheets. So that is, I think, the best way to get into 40k.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's prescriptive. At 1,000, in Combat Patrol, now in 10th, you get a Combat Patrol box. You go to the Combat Patrol Army sheet. It tells you have these units with this loadout. Go play Combat Patrol.
Yep.
And then you're good to go. And that's like the best way. From there, you can build. You can say, oh, in my Combat Patrol games, I really like this unit. I wish I could have more of it. So I'm going to get more of it. So when I play 2,000 points, I get to play with more of it. Or like, oh, I like what this does, but there's this specialized version over there. Like, intercessors are cool. I like shooting their guns. But what if they were bigger? Okay, I'll get heavy intercessors. Or what if they were faster? I'll get assault intercessors. So that's my recommendation, is start with Combat Patrol. I think it's actually going to pull a lot of people into the hobby.
Yeah, GW were very positive about Combat Patrol, and we were talking to them behind the scenes as well. They've supposedly done a ton of work. I mean, I'm conscious that we've just watched this last stream. They've supposedly done a ton of work to make sure the Combat Patrol boxes are balanced with each other.
Sure.
So the idea being that you could take a Combat Patrol box from any faction across the whole of 40k, play it against another Combat Patrol box of any faction across the whole of 40k, and you should have a relatively fun, engaging, and relatively balanced game. And let's face it, the Combat Patrol boxes for both Eldar and Thousand Suns aren't bad boxes. They're pretty good boxes with pretty good stuff inside. In terms of what to scale up afterwards, it's actually harder for Thousand Suns to scale up from Combat Patrol simply because they suffer from the same issue as Votann and World Eaters. They've got a restricted number of units. They have a slightly better selection than Votann and World Eaters, but they still have restricted numbers of units. You want to be looking at good force multipliers, strong, tough units, things you've already used that you like, much like Bridget says. But try not to go, in my personal opinion, if you're new to 40k, is try not to go too wild. So especially as an Eldar player, you're going to have a problem with being massively spoilt for choice. And if you end up with 27 units that all do different things with different abilities and different data sheets, you could find that it could become overwhelming. So typically I try and do this quite a lot even when I build lists, even now, as I try and go 2 units of the same. One, it offers me a bit of redundancy, but 2, it means I've only got to learn that rule once.
Yeah.
And I think that's easy to scale it up at that point. And you can get to a point where you can have 2,000 points when every single data sheet is unique and different. But yeah, I wouldn't do that to start with. I think find an aspect of the game that you like and you enjoy and try and tech towards that for a bit. So if you enjoy shooting, try and pick shooter units, try and do some duplication, some redundancy. I think then you're probably going to have a better experience in learning these rules. Once those rules are solidified in your mind, you can add in something different, something new.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So Jet just wants to confirm that Combat Patrol is 500 points, but there is one for 1,000 points.
Is it 500 points?
Is Combat Patrol 500 points?
That's what Chat's saying.
Is Incursion 1,000 points?
Yes, Incursion's 1,000 points. Combat Patrol is 500.
Okay.
But still, I mean,
the principle kind of still stands.
Yes.
Start with the Combat Patrol. Okay. Easy fix, Bridger.
Yeah.
Start with 2 Combat Patrols.
That's tough, because I thought this whole... this is, in theory, my job, and I was supposed to know this. But this is also, in fact, more so your job. You're a full-timer. I'm just a guy. But no, okay, so...
Wow, under the bus, Bridger.
I threw you right under the bus.
Under the bus.
So, the idea that Combat Patrol fixes the scaling of the rules of the game is very important. At no point that I can remember in the history of 40k has 500 points even felt like a game.
No,
So
correct.
if Combat Patrol fixes that, awesome.
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 From Boston all of a sudden.
Awesome from Boston.
Certainly.
But that means that 1,000 points might still be tricky, right? That, like, it does 10th edition scale to 1,000 points? I don't know. I haven't played. I
felt like
don't know.
it didn't scale well to 1,000 in 9th edition.
No.
And I've often said to a lot of people, and I don't want to give this as advice, Canadian Bacon, if you're just getting into the game, because it's quite an investment. But I've often said to people, just play 2K. That being said, it's a lot to learn, especially if you're both new to it. If you're not learning with another person and you're both new to it, it's a lot to learn. Definitely start. I still think definitely start with Combat Patrol, 100%. Yeah. And even then, what you could do is you could just duplicate units that already exist in Combat Patrol. So if the Eldar Combat Patrol, for example, 6 Wind Riders, a Wraith Lord, 10 Guardians, and a Farseer, you can add another Wraith Lord, another 10 Guardians, even 3 more Wind Riders. You're not learning any new data sheets, and you're starting to scale those points up.
Yeah.
And you're keeping it kind of simple, whilst you've got a bit of shooting, a bit of melee, a bit of speed. What you also can do then is the Wraith Lord, you can give it a different loadout to the Combat Patrol box, so you can learn new weapon profiles. But yeah, I think that's trying not to overwhelm yourself with data sheets is a very important part of scaling all the way up through to 2,000 points.
Also, while we're here, Canadian Bacon, I would be remiss to not tell you about the wonders of Titan's Terrain. If you want to start in 40k, this is a great place to start. You can't just dive head first. You're buying all these boxes, these kits, these Warhammer models. Then you got to buy a whole table of terrain. You got to buy yourself a mat. Save yourself the work. One box, Titan's Terrain. It's got a whole table of terrain in it. Just open it and play.
You're not even saving yourself the work, you're also saving a ton of money as well.
It's way cheaper.
It is the cheapest way to have 40k terrain on your table.
Yeah.
By far.
And you can do a Combat Patrol board
On
Titan's Terrain.
You can.
They've tested it. They love it.
Yeah. And the way do they need to go for this?
TabletopTitans.tv or TitansTerrain.com, your choice. Or just Google any combination of those words.
That was smooth. We did that. We did a good job there.
Nice job.
In like that. Nice.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
Do you think they'll know that we sell that?
No, they won't know. That's perfect product placement.
Yeah.
I have no idea. They're not clever enough to realise what we just did, Bridger.
Speaking,
We've gone backwards.
We've done that one.
there we go. This one.
Yeah.
Speaking of points, JPR Space has asked, has anyone tried 3,000 points? I keep hearing people say they don't have enough in 2,000. Is this finally the time it's balanced?
I haven't.
So something, JP, that you'll have to come to terms with. This is true in everything in life. When you're given a limit, you always want more. This is just humanity. So every time we're like, oh, I sat down, I built this list, and it was like 2,500 points, and then I had to cut some stuff. That's always going to be true. If you're playing 3,000 points, you'll be like, oh, man. Rule of 3 is actually rule of 4 now. I'm going to have even more. And then you'll write a 4,000 point list, and you're like, I wish I could just have more, right? I don't think this tendency of people to always want more in their list is indicative that you need to play more points. If you look at,
there's nothing wrong with playing more points.
Sure, yeah, but it's not like a necessity. It's not like, oh, everybody wants more in their lists. Let's just play more points. Because you'll still want more in your lists, is what I'm saying. And I think if you look at a 9th edition army and you look at a 10th edition army, 10th edition army is bigger.
I mean, so I started writing I'm going to try and counter your point without just being, you're wrong, because that's not the case. But I started writing my Eldar list this afternoon, had a look at the models we had on the shelves, and I was just adding stuff in the app. Just adding stuff, I want that, I want that, I want that. And what I also done essentially was, I've done this on previous streams, I've said, in Eldar, you want to take this, 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 and this, and then a scattering of everything else that you want. And I did exactly that.
Yeah.
And I read out what I had to Adrian, he was like, oh my God, that is terrifying. I was like, cool, I've got 700 points to spend.
Yeah, you had 1,300 points. You had 700 more points to go.
So I think for some factions, it could be true that they actually probably feel like they can't get enough into 2,000 points to play the game effectively or compete with other factions. But I think for other factions, it's kind of the reverse. And I think that for me personally, with Eldar, for example, 2,000 points is I get a lot right now. I was struggling to deploy everything on the table to hide from the knights. I get a lot. So I think context is key here. I think maybe if I was playing Death Guard, looking at taking on knights and how much damage they can do, I probably would have felt like I wasn't going to get enough at that point. Because I haven't got enough bodies to survive what knights can do, and I won't have the power to deal with you in return. I don't think 3,000 points is the direction that we end up going in. I feel like we stick at 2K for the rest of this edition, to be honest with you.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so too. But thank you for the demo, man. You're a hero.
So there were a few questions that I missed earlier, like Canadian Bacon
In it.
and JP Art Space. This is the last of them. It's from Zero Crow. Thank you, Zero Crow. Behold, chat, we witnessed a war crime on the tabletop.
Was that which of us was committing the war crime? Liam?
I don't know.
I feel like we both
I
committed
think
war
we
crime.
both commit great crime. That's what happened today. It was, yeah.
I fondly remember harpooning a D-cannon.
That felt really excessive.
And then you reel it.
That felt really excessive.
D-cannon.
The worst part about that was, you know what the worst part about that D-cannon was?
What?
I moved it so I could see your knight. And it was only when I moved to look at the D-cannon to shoot it, I was like, oh yeah, indirect is a thing. So I probably didn't need to give you that D-cannon to shoot. But I'm also kind of glad I did.
I'm glad you did.
But I was like, oh yeah, this thing's got indirect and heavy.
Yeah.
So if I'd have stayed still, I'd have still been hitting you on threes. I didn't need to stick my little nose out.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some tabletop war crimes. However, fun was had.
It was a
Fun
blast.
was had.
Much fun was had.
It was cool.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. This next one is from Sean Lehman. Thank you, Sean. What do you think of a Gravis/Terminator-centric Marines list? Lowest T is 5, most 6. Most infantry weapons only wound on 5s, but anti-vehicle are wasted on a unit of 10 heavy intercessor cause efficiency.
I think this is a strategy that you can pursue,
Yep.
but I'm not going to pretend that it's the most competitive.
No.
My reasoning is that combat is actually mostly in awkward strengths that are higher than this, and they're awkward strengths because they were wasting a lot of their strength against the average infantry.
Yep.
There's a lot of like strength 6 and 7 combat in the game where you're like, why is this strength whatever? Like, why is this strength 6? Why is this strength 7?
Mm-hmm.
And your army just gives them even more efficiency on that combat, and it's kind of everywhere. I think it's a very cool thematic idea. I think you should pursue it, but I also think often the level of lethality on some units means that they're overkilling regardless, and they're not getting that efficiency, period. So if you give them a more expensive, more durable body to put their overkilling into, they're happy.
Okay.
I also think try Custodes. That seems to be what you want to do here. Give it a shot.
I mean,
Just give it a shot.
to a point, yeah. I love Gravis themed lists. It was a list I was trying to put together previously in 9th. I think Gravis theme now is just very good with toughness 6 everywhere. Heavy intercessors aren't too shabby now. You know, Eradicators took a nerf because Melter took a nerf, but they're still relatively reasonable. Aggressors, okay. It doesn't. The problem I would have with that is I don't know if it does anything incredibly. Like, do Terminators do anything incredibly apart from being durable? Does Gravis do anything incredibly? Like, you're going to still need... I feel like you're going to still need your Gladiator, Lancers, you know... I feel like every Marine that's currently needs Desolation Marines. It just doesn't seem to do anything massively effectively, in my opinion.
You get a few units that are very specialized. You get Inceptors who score you points.
So Inceptors are a must because they need the speed.
Yeah. And they're Gravis, so they count towards your theme.
Yep.
Eradicators, when delivered, are great. Anti-tank, they're very lethal.
Are they with Melter changing?
With under the right circumstances, they are.
Okay.
If you give them Storm of Fire, let's say you're not playing Desolation Marines, because this is your theme. Desolation Marines are not Terminators or Gravis. If you put Storm of Fire in Eradicators, they have something like a 95% chance to kill a knight
I'll take it back then. That's really good.
in range, because you just give them exploding everything. And then it's great. It's lethal. They can have lethal and exploding 5s.
Exploding everything, Bridger. It's like another night at Taco Bell.
We made you eat Taco Bell and didn't talk about it on stream.
We did the ones. It was awful.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it
The
though?
best thing about it was the slightly plastic, gooey nacho cheese.
What if I told you, Liam, that whole box is $10?
I think
With the drink, $10.
we overpaid.
No.
We overpaid by about
Liam.
$9.50, Bridger.
We overpaid because the Cinnabon Delights didn't show up.
Oh no!
I know.
Are they nice? Because he told me that the box was nice, and I think actually eating the box might have been nicer.
I would say
It
they're
was-
on the same level.
No.
Okay, hold on. They're good. But if you did enjoy the tacos. If you didn't enjoy what comes in the box, you're not gonna enjoy the.
Bridget, I've been out here twice, Lindsay. I've come, you know, because you've been here both times. I've come to visit Titans twice, and the two places Bridget's taking me to eat is Taco Bell and Chipotle.
Yeah.
This is why you're always so cheerful and so happy, because your standards are so low.
So we have a food culture that involves eating out all the time. You guys eat out like once in a blue moon.
Once every 2 months. I don't want to see other English people. It's awful.
Right. We eat out as though cooking is a foreign concept. Like we actually don't know how. So to keep that affordable, we have a lot of these chains that really mass produce some kind of garbage food.
I mean, yes.
And then, but that's like you need it. You need it in your life. It's always there to lean on.
Back to the question. I kind of love the theme. I think the theme's cool. I get what you're saying. Anti-infantry weapons are going to struggle against them, I think, and anti-tank is going to have a problem because of what you're building. But Bridget's right. That middle ground of elite units that do actually exist are going to have a bit of a field day because they become more efficient against your army. But I think you should do it because it sounds super cool. Gravis and Terminators is just cool sauce. I love it.
No.
Do it. Go for it. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. This next one is from Fate's Daydreamer, and Fate's Daydreamer says, "You guys going to play the updated boarding actions? Apparently, rules dropped for that today."
When did that get updated?
Apparently today.
Today.
Listen.
Shouldn't GW have told us that?
It would have been helpful, yeah. It would be nice to know.
Oh, okay. I'm learning about it from a viewer on stream. So
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot, Bridget, right now, right? Let's not talk about this whole release schedule for the last 3 weeks. We haven't got the time. Do you know what? I want to give it a go because when Boarding Actions was first dropped, when GW first sent it through to us and provided it to us, I was so excited when the first book came through.
Yeah.
And we really went in hard on the channel back at home with Boarding Actions. I found it got very boring and very tedious to me very quickly. It became very samey. It became very, this is going to be the result because you've gone first. And I really didn't enjoy it. At the moment, with new 10th edition, I don't see me getting bored of 2,000 points of 10th edition in the near future.
Right.
So I don't feel like going and playing Boarding Actions right now is going to make me have more fun. And so if I'm not going to get any more, in fact, I feel like at the moment, because of how good I think full-blown 10th edition is, I feel like I'm going to have less fun with Boarding Actions. I'm already learning a new set of rules with 10th as well. I don't want to have to then learn different rules for Boarding Actions.
And keep them separate. And
So for me personally, and I can't talk for Titans, but for me personally, I don't think you'll see it anytime soon on the channel.
Yeah, no, I think you make some valid points. I would be surprised if we had room in the schedule for it, unless it's like super compelling, unless we look at it and it's like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be.
I don't see a huge justification for it. I think a lot of people are excited to see 10th content. And this is literally the first time I've heard that Boarding Actions even changed.
Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, lots of stealth drops. I mean, yeah.
Thanks, dude.
I'm going to get into that.
Thank you. This next one, and potentially last one, is from 32-Bit Mason. Thank you, 32-Bit. Vehicle with firing deck picks a weapon with hazardous from the unit it is carrying to fire. Does the vehicle take the hazard test as it shoots the gun?
Yes, absolutely. And then if it fails the hazard test, it takes 3 mortal wounds because it's a vehicle rather than it being destroyed if it was an infantry model. But yeah, that's absolutely how it works. 100%. Like,
And this is an elegant solution to the problem they've always had of like, if you're open top with plasma, what happens?
Yeah.
Can you die? You're not on the table.
Yeah.
Well, now, it's not even a question. The vehicle's shooting the gun.
Yeah. It's really... I actually really like it. I know to some extent it maybe doesn't make the most sense narratively, but I think it from a rules perspective, it's cleaner, it's simpler, it's easier to understand.
Yeah.
The vehicle essentially assumes the profile of the weapon, and therefore everything that happens with the vehicle. So yeah, the vehicle will take 3 more wounds if you fail your hazardous test.
I like it. It tidies up a lot of the issues that we've always had with transports, particularly open top ones, where it's like, no longer do we have to worry about how you buff the unit inside or if they can be buffed or which buffs apply. It's just the vehicle does it. You can buff the vehicle with vehicle buffs and he shoots the gun. Just let the vehicle do the thing. Don't worry about the unit that's not on the table. I love that. It was always a headache when people were like, What if I use a stratagem on it and there's a character there's an aura in the transport? I was like, please stop asking any of these questions.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things they've done here that's in the rules commentary as well. Like, if you're off the table, you can still use abilities for models that are off the table or stuff like that, which is interesting because I think. What? Go on.
I don't like that one.
I think it avoids feels bads. Like, oh, I've deep struck and I can't use my ability because I wasn't on the table in the command phase, and so this whole thing that I'm paying for as part of this unit, I don't get to use. Like, I actually think it's a good change personally.
I get it. It's just I've played the game too long and I'm too ingrained in this idea of like, no, dummy, you can't do that. You're not on the table, right? Like, for so long we've had that attitude of like, no, of course you can't do that. Why would you be? Wait, you're not on the table.
Okay,
Why would you be allowed to do that?
But this is okay, right. But this is a fundamental problem with a bunch of people in the community right now, where what they're trying to do is apply 9th edition logic to the 10th edition rule set. These are two separate games.
Yeah.
It's Warhammer 40k,
no, I'm
fine,
with you. Yeah.
They're two separate games. And there's a few times I've had discussions with people about things that are like, yeah, but that's not how it works in 9th edition. I'm like, cool, this isn't 9th edition.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's probably overall healthy for the game to have this be the new standard of like, you can use abilities off the table. If that's the future of the game, I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's just a difficult transition for me, Liam, because change, nobody likes change.
I love change.
No, change is scary.
Change. I love change.
So it's frightening.
Change.
We're not ready for it. What if it's not as good as the thing before?
Well then, if it's not as good as the thing before, then eventually it will change again.
But that's scary again.
No, it's
I
not.
just told you I was afraid of change. You can't just bring more change. Like, well, if that change was bad, we'll just change some more.
Yeah, just keep changing. Change. It's great. Change is great, Ridger. I love it. Without change, we wouldn't have 10th edition, and you were so fed up with 9th that you started playing that terrible Marvel game. You bought an AOS army. You back into playing. You're wearing magic badges, right? And then because we've changed the 10th, you're like, oh, I'm enjoying 40k again. So change is good. It's good, Jack. Change is good.
Thanks, 32-bit Mace.
So I lied. We do have more.
Oh, we
There's
have
a
more.
few that I skipped over. I've been skipping a lot.
Remember, chat.
Yeah.
I go home tomorrow. This is your last chance to ask questions. If
In
And
it.
we've
you
had
care.
more that came
Last
in.
chance in it.
Pizza in it. Bridget's new business venture. That's why Brian was over. He wasn't here actually for 10 days of 10th. Bridget had a kind of business proposition for him. He wants to start a new takeaway in Britain called Pizza in it.
Look, I haven't heard feedback from anybody on this, but all of the real life people I've talked to have thought it's brilliant. What's this? Pizza in it? That's the commercial. It's a 5-second ad. Somebody walks up like, what's this? Pizza in it? That's the cut. That's the whole ad.
Oh.
I'm going to save millions on advertising. I don't need a 30-second ad. I don't need a minute ad. 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Ad writes itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Sorry, Lindsay. You were doing something professional, and I changed that.
This one is from Scott Gelderman. Thank you, Scott. I want to hurt knights with Stampas, Groks, and Morks. Gorks and
Gorks,
Morks.
yeah. Stampas, Gorks, and Morks. How's our combat? Liam?
I don't know.
Pull it up.
All right, yes, boss.
I can't pull it up.
I didn't realize that was a relationship.
I didn't download the app.
I mean, it's available to you now.
I know, but I have this privilege of owning a printer.
I feel like that's less privilege. It's So he wants Stomper, Gorkanauts, and Morkanauts, correct?
Yeah, I think the combat profile is going to be the large determining factor, because we all know orcs can't hit anything when they shoot.
A Morkanaut is a claw of Mork who can strike and sweep. A strike is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s at strength 18, -3, flat 6 damage. And the sweep is 12 attack. We're not going to use the sweep against knights, so we're not going to read that too much. Ability-wise, each time it makes a ranged attack, no one cares about that. Each time this model makes a normal move, advance, or fallback move, it can move over enemy. Okay, yeah, so it's all right.
How many points is Morkanaut?
Flat, oh, let's just come off of it, Bridgie. Why don't you ask me when I'm on the data sheet? Why do you have to make my life so difficult? 305
Okay.
for a Morkanaut.
Okay.
Let's go for the Gorkanaut. Yeah.
It's a coconut.
I feel like they asked the 5-year-olds to do the names for orcs.
It's the cookie smashing bit.
So he has 5 attacks with his strike profile, strength 18, -3, 6 damage hitting on 3s. His abilities, what does he have? Each time he makes a melee attack, if you have called a war this battle round, add 1 to the hit roll.
Wow.
Add 1 to the hit roll, okay. And then we have the Stomper.
Yeah. Hopefully this one recovers it.
I mean, they're not bad. They're all flat 6 damage, and they're in melee, so you don't get your runs at all. Remember, melee weapons. 30 wounds is a Stomper at toughness 14 with a 2+ save, and
Now
an
we're
objective
talking.
control of 12.
Now we're talking.
And his Mega Chopper in strike mode is 6 attacks.
It's the mega chopper.
6 attacks, Bridger.
Yeah.
Hitting on 3s.
Okay.
Strength of 24. An AP of -5.
Oh.
And 10 damage.
Oh, now he's talking with a stomper.
Yeah. No, that's great. Like, get in there with Stompas. They sound awesome.
Yeah, there's no extra abilities. That's it. That's what it does.
It doesn't need abilities. That was great. I
yeah,
love it.
that's a cool.
That I want that in combat with the knight. That's hey Scott, do it.
Stompers, that's upsetting knights pretty quickly, to be fair.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Thank
Orcs
you.
is never beat. That's what I say. Is that what they say?
That's what they say.
Yeah. I did it. I did an orc thing. Adrian will be proud.
He's editing a video right now.
This next question is from Green Bee Productions. Thank
What's
you,
up?
Green Bee. Hey guys, Yanari.
Yeah.
Ivrain, Inkarn, Farseer, SR Archon, 3 Spears, 3 Shroud Runners, 2 Skyweavers, 2 Vipers /BL, 9 Wind Runners, 2 Raiders, 2 Cavalites, 2 Venoms, and 1 Split Cabal.
It's a cool list.
It's very fast. It has a theme.
Yeah.
It's fast.
It's a cool list.
They go zoom.
Vipers of Bright Lance, I'm a big fan of. I like those. SR Archon. SR.
Well, Farseer SR. Farseer
Oh, Shroud
Skyrunner.
Yeah, Skyrunner, that's the one. Yeah. Okay. So you got Guide in there. I actually really like the Incarn in 10th. Super
Yeah.
cool unit. Really like the unit. 3 Spears, 3 Shroud Runners, 2 Skyrunners, 2 Fire. It's a cool list. It's very quick. It's very fun. And in all honesty, it hasn't got any of the real super broken nonsense in it either. No D-cannons is good. No fire prisms is good. And it's Yanari. I don't know what Yanari do. I don't think they do
They're
anything
just
right now.
Eldar.
It's just Eldar, aren't
They
they?
just
They
get
have
fate
fate dice.
dice.
Yeah. I like it. It'll be fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And it's super fast. It's one of the ways I like to play the game because it's highly mobile. It zips all over the place. Even with the nerf to fly, it's still pretty mobile.
Yeah. That's cool. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you. This next one is from Imaria. Thank you. Thoughts on Night Abominant?
It's big on the screen. It's like he's shouting at you.
It's yeah, it auto scales. So the fewer words, the bigger they are. If you put one word, it's huge. That's the power of my software, Liam.
I remember that when I'm super chatting next time.
Oh no.
Thoughts on Night Abominant? He's the psychic guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got the Scourge
Which is good or bad?
and the Volkite.
Yes.
I never got the Scourge to combat, Liam, so I couldn't tell you.
But you must have known what it can do.
Nope. I just kind of hoped I would get there.
Do I need the app again? It does 2 psychic things.
It does. The 2 psychic things are good. It does mortals at the end of your move phase for enemies within 9 inches of you. On 3-ups, I think. D3 mortals on a 3-up for each.
Okay.
And then at the end of, or at the beginning, at some time in your shooting phase, you can battle shock something within 12. Or
that's
force
cool.
it to take a battle shock test.
That's cool. I like that.
Which is why I put, I saw when you guys went over Chaos Knights, you were like, oh, this is the worst enhancement. You count as the turn 3. That's what I put on him. Because
Is that how he sounds?
that was a great voice. I was doing the both of you together. Because he can force a battle shock, this is a way to leverage that +1 to wound without taking skull cannons. So then he gets +1 to wound against the thing he battle shocks.
Yeah.
As early as turns 1 or 2.
Okay.
I think it's better on him than the force of battle shock when you charge.
But you also aren't sold on the Volkite.
No. It's strength 1,000,000, 3 damage, 0 AP.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it needs to be. Because you can't just go everything that's this strength has this AP, this damage.
No.
Because there's no granularity. It doesn't make it
That's,
interesting.
I get what you're saying. I understand why we need weapons that are designed to kill different things.
Yeah, of course.
And overall, I think they're pretty good at doing that. This weapon is not designed to kill anything. There's nothing that you shoot this at and you're like, that's the perfect target. I feel great about this. Everything you shoot it at, you kind of feel bad. You're like, I'm wasting my 3 damage. Or I'm wasting my strength 12.
Anything with 3 wounds in an armor of 7+. There you go.
Can you name a single thing like that?
That's not the point right now, Bridger. If it had the profile, it'd be good against that.
That doesn't exist.
It might do one day.
It will never
It might do,
exist.
chat. Don't listen to
It
him.
doesn't make any sense.
Volkite is cool. Don't listen to him, chat.
I think Volkite is a cool concept. I just don't think they've figured out what they want to do with it.
But what would you do instead?
I'm not a game designer.
Brilliant.
I think if they wanted to stick with the Mortal Wounds thing, they could have given it the anti-keyword. And then, Liam, I think the 0 AP is compelling. If they give it like anti-5-up,
Against?
whatever they decide Volkite's supposed to be good against. It could be anti-everything 5-up.
Could it be anti-Bridger 5-up? Anything that you're playing, if it shoots against it, on a 5+, it does mortal wounds. Do that. Do that. There you go.
It's just fishing for 6s is not a strategy.
I mean, it is.
Hoping that your first roll has 6s in it and otherwise the gun doesn't do anything is not a strategy. And so they should have like put other rules
But
on
the gun will do loads if you've got a 7+ armor. Because it won't work. It won't cover the AP.
They'll get a 6-up cover and they'll roll 6s.
They probably will.
They'll get 6s
Yeah,
against
they will.
your stupid
You're not
gun.
wrong. You're not
It's a
wrong.
confetti cannon. I don't understand it.
Okay.
Thanks,
I
Amari.
like the Abominant because it's very Chaos Knighty and it's individual to Chaos Knights. I think the Scourge looks cool. I actually quite like the Volkite on the whole. I think it's a cool weapon. It's a bit different to what we normally see. And having those psychic abilities and that battle shock is also clutch. Is it a knight to take when you've got accesses to tyrants and desecrators and to spoilers? I'm not sure.
It's a flavor choice.
It's a flavor choice.
And
100%.
I took the flavor choice. I saw it and I was like, I want one of these.
Yeah.
Imperium can't have Psyker Knights, so when I play Chaos Knights, I want to play with my Psyker
Which
Knight.
I absolutely, I get it. Yeah. And you didn't get to play with it because I killed it. But, you know. That's the problem.
It's fair. You didn't really get to play with your Shadow Swords.
Well, yeah. Oh, no, I got to play with it loads. You just didn't do anything, did you? And then it got his eyes pecked out by birds. Taking a Knight Abominant over something like a Desecrator. Is it the Desecrator that can take the multitude of weapons like thermal cannons and stuff, or the Despoiler? They can take the thermal cannon and rapid fire back. You can make a Knight Crusader again. Like, I don't know if it just does as much as one of those dudes with those weapon profiles, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, though.
Thank you. This next one is from Leston Jones. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Leston also gifted 20 memberships.
In it.
Eston's amazing.
Thanks, Aston.
He's one of my boys. He's a hero. He's a legend.
Sorry, it was 10. 10 memberships, but still.
Thanks,
great.
Aston.
He's a champion of the channel.
And they say, Bridger is the Ramsay Bolton of 40k, just a bad person. No! Come home, Liam. You have a safe space back in the UK.
It's fine. It's fine. I have to lose. It's part of the contract.
You're
what I
safe
signed.
here, too.
It's what I signed. I'm not in danger at all. It does say that if I am, I just have to blink 3 times on camera. I didn't. It's fine. But it just says, just make sure you lose. So Titans still look better than everybody else.
You're a great foil, Liam. You're like, I can't name any WWE foils. Undertaker, you're like the Undertaker.
What's a foil?
It's the villain that gets the crowd all energized to have the hero win. Look,
I'm a villain.
no, the people, the actors, of course, aren't villains, and being a foil is hard. There's some of the best actors out there, Liam. But it's the hardest job to do, is to be a compelling villain, get everybody excited for you to lose, and then lose gracefully.
I mean, if you read this super chat, you're the villain. Ramsay Bolton wasn't a particularly popular character, Bridger.
I mean,
nor would I necessarily call him a hero.
I mean, I might think of myself as a foil sometimes.
We've gotten that Adrian win, haven't we? Have you seen how his hair gets if he loses?
Is he the John Cena of 40k?
Have you seen how his hair gets if he loses? It's like a terrible Ace Ventura. Thank you, Ethan, you're a hero. Thank you for gifting memberships as well. I don't know if
Yeah.
you know this, but...
Oh, it's the best way to support the channel. Did you know that?
In fact, the best way to support the channel, yeah.
This next one is from Nick. Thank you, Nick. Eldar and 10, they're totally fine. Don't need any change.
Hey, look, I practically got tabled. Nothing wrong with Eldar, leave them as they are.
Yeah. Buff them, probably.
We took them to the Titans tournament, didn't win it.
No, they didn't.
Nothing wrong with Eldar.
Buff
Nothing wrong with
them.
that. They need a points drop across the board and access to more fate dice.
Access to more fate dice.
So they need.
What if every fate die was actually a 6?
You can change Eldrad's ability. You don't get +3, just double it. 24.
And there's no once per turn on the
Old fate
Farseer.
dice was always a 6.
That's true.
It was just I love Eldar so much, but I don't know why they needed to change the fate dice mechanic. It was fine as it was. Now it's crazy.
I mean, World Eaters it was kind of a side grade, but that was another time where people were like, why did this need to change? They just made it. They just made this. It's a good system. It works in 10th. They changed it. They have writers. The writers have agency to write their own rules, lore, novel ideas. It's a creative expression for these people, Liam.
Well, they should express a little less, quite frankly. Good job. Thanks, Nick, though. You're right. I agree with you. More power to the elves.
Thank you. This next one is from Graham Tavis. Thank you, Graham. Hey, glad to hear you're a rugby guy. Do you prefer to play/watch sevens or full-size games?
Full-size games always. I used to play sevens years ago when I was a bit younger, but that is terrifyingly exhausting if you play sevens. Full-size rugby pitch, 7 players aside. It's horrible. Lots of running. I prefer to watch full-size. I actually didn't watch much for the last 2 seasons, and I've been really sad I missed rugby. Too busy with this life. Right, it's chaos, it's busy. Yeah. But hopefully this next season, I'm going to start watching some more again.
Oh.
Yeah. If you're not sure what rugby is, it's like American football, but for men. None of this pads nonsense, Bridger.
Well, the pads don't really help.
None of this helmet, shoulder pad nonsense.
Yeah, we've run some studies. It didn't really help
just
my
run
life.
into each other.
Kind of just made it
My
worse.
phone's just somebody to check into my phone.
Makes you more confident. That's the problem.
Check in now. It's becoming more compelling the more time I spend with you tonight, quite honestly.
Thanks, Graham.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, you're a hero.
Thank you. This next one is from Canadian Bacon again. Just testing out the one word.
That's not the word I would have used.
It's big.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it grows the font size so that you fill vertically without overflowing horizontally. You think you could fit like 7 characters?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. 7
Yeah.
characters specifically, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Okay, cool.
Lindsay's like, what am I going to have to say next week?
I'm counting letters right now.
This next one is from Chance Text. Thank you, Chance. Hey guys, beginnings of an Ultramarines list. 1 reboot, 1 termy cap, 5 terms, 2 whirlwind, 1 land speeder, 1 desolation, 1 storm speeder, hail strike, 2x5 man infiltrator.
Hail strike is +1 AP against infantry?
Is it? Or is it the +1 wound? I don't remember now.
What?
I thought it was a +1 wound.
I can't keep them straight, to be honest, Liam. There's too many of these weird Space Marine vehicles that all do +1 to something when you something.
Storm speeder, isn't it? It's called.
Storm speeder, hail strike.
Storm speeder, storm raven gunship, storm hawk, storm speeder, Oh my God, Space Marines! Stop being so silly. Okay. Hail strike. Each of this model shots like one enemy that was hit by 1 or more attacks made by this weapon this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a friendly adapted to start, his unit makes a range that targets enemy unit, improve the AP. I mean, it is armor.
I no-scoped it, dude.
It goes well with Desolation Marines.
Oh,
seriousness.
yup.
It does. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. This is a solid start to an Ultramarines list. Because Gulliman is solid. A Terminator Captain is solid. 5 Terminators are solid. 2 Whirlwinds are decent. A Land Speeder, I'm a little bit lost on, actually. That's the only one I think I'm probably
I
questioning
think you can
right
take
now.
away cover.
Land Speeders can take away cover, can they?
I think. If they do, that combination means you definitely kill whatever the Desos shoot at.
I mean, they do that anyway, typically.
Yep.
Land Speeder, normal Land Speeder, abilities, target sighted. Add 1 to the hit roll and it has ignores cover. So you're now ignoring the indirect.
Yeah, you're hitting
completely.
on 2s. Well, if they stand still, they already ignore the indirect penalty.
Oh my lord! Yeah. So okay, this looks like it's sat there to make the Desolation Marines sing. So I'm going to assume they're a unit of 10. just because it looks like both Land Speeder and Storm Speeder are there to buff the Desolation Marines, and then you're going to have Oath of Moment as well. It's solid. The 2/5-man Infiltrators is always a solid choice as well. Stop it. There's a lot of we're seeing a lot of uppy downy in 10th edition.
True.
And if you look in the designer's commentary, in when it comes to deployment abilities, the defensive ability takes precedence. So in terms of lots of uppy downy, having Infiltrators is super clutch. Terminators are solid. Toughness 5 is good. I don't know what the Whirlwinds do necessarily, but Land Speed. Do Whirlwinds slow things down now again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid start. It's a really solid start.
Thunderfires definitely do. I don't know. Whirlwinds might. It's a good list. You need a couple of characters. You're missing the Phobos Librarian for Infiltrators, so that they themselves are lone operative, and then Gilliman behind them is a lone operative. And you're missing the Apothecary in the Deso squad that gives them Storm of Fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a top tier list.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks. You. This next one is from Brennan Duck. Thank you, Brennan. Building an Inquisition force with Space Marines and Guard. What's the best way to house rule using 2 detachments to not make for an unfair game?
2 detachments.
Give your opponent 2 detachments.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the most obvious thing that I can think of. However, this does not guarantee that it's a fair game by any stretch. The combination that you choose is in some ways powerful and in other ways limiting. So the Space Marine detachment ability is choose a thing your Space Marines roll to hit and wound against it. Well, you cut your Space Marines in half. So like, they're not benefiting as much.
Right, so yeah.
But on the other side, Guard complements Space Marines quite well. If you're taking a parking lot of artillery behind your Space Marines, then you got some good stuff going on, right? Like that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, it is. So if you, Bridge is right. If you look at the Guard army rule, detachment rule, and how their units work, it's arguable that cutting that in half doesn't really hurt them all that much. Orders are given out by officers to single units or 2 units or 3 units. So as long as you haven't got a ton of orders that you can't give out, you're not being hurt there. And then the detachment rule just requires you to stand still to get lethal hits, so you're not getting hurt there. Yep. But he's right about Space Marines. Guard aren't the strongest part of this army build for certain. Space Marines with Oath of Moment to start to struggle the less units you take because you don't get so much use out of that Oath of Moment reroll hits and wounds. So you could just give your opponent 2. You could just give them 2 detachments. You could go down the route of saying I'm only allowed to pick 1 army and detachment rule that I get access to. You could do that, so the Guard don't get their rules. That's another thing you could do. But ultimately, if you're doing this, you're playing narrative fun anyway. Mm-hmm. So just don't make any nerfs. Don't house rule anything. Play it and see how it goes. Yeah. And if it's ridiculously too strong, then we start thinking about house rules. Yeah. If it isn't, then
just play it.
Just keep playing.
No, I'm with you. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. This next one is from Trom2.
Yep.
So tell me why I shouldn't take 3 squads of 10 Lich Guard.
Because Necrons have amazing guns. And you want those too. You also want amazing. The Necrons are one of those factions. When you were talking about like you build a list and then you want 800 more points, Necrons are those. That is that faction to the T for me, where it's like, man, I want everything. Everything in this book is so good, I just can't afford it. I wish I could have a 20-man Blob of Warriors and 2 10-mans of Lich Guard and all my little units that are fast, and I want my Doomsday Arcs, and I want my Catan, and I also want a big dumb monolith. Like, I actually just want everything in that book.
How good are Lich Guard? What do they do?
Very good. So, you take the Shield Lich Guard, mostly, and they're durable. You put an Overlord in there, you could put a Cryptek in there for a Feel No Pain. Sorry, not Cryptek.
Technomancer.
Right, Technomancer for the Feel No Pain.
Or Chronomancer, one of the 2, but yeah.
Yeah. And then once you put him in, you can have Crypto Thralls for more Feel No Pains. They reanimate super well. You can take an Overlord with a Res Orb to reanimate even more. They're incredibly durable, and they're decent at fighting. They're enough of a charged deterrent that people don't mess with them. And that's what this army needs. This army is almost like a Civil War era. Sorry, we could go with Revolutionary War era when we, kicked you guys out. You kind of build a line of muskets, and you just want to stop. You want something between you and them so they don't just charge you.
I think we just left. Why didn't we get kicked out?
No, you got kicked out. Yeah. So you just want something, a spacer between your gun line and their army for Necrons, and that's what this does.
I think the thing as well is that I think Necrons really sing when you have characters in units. And so you could take a Unit 10 Lich Guard and you could add all these buffs to it, but you're not going to be able to do it every single time you take a Unit 10 Lich Guard. And so one unit could be a super unit, the other two could be okay. You have to remember as well, Lich Guard are, for 10, they're 190 points. So 570 for 3 units of 10. So you're talking more than a quarter of your army in 30 Lich Guard. I'm not sure if that's the wisest choice with what they do.
That's a bargain. Well, it's a bargain until you start adding up the points of the characters.
Yeah.
So an Overlord is like 100 points.
Yeah, I think 10 certainly, 20 maybe, 30 is probably too many. Is where I would go.
Isn't that wild that an Overlord, like the guy leading the squad, costs as much as half of this giant elite squad of guys?
Why is that wild?
No other army is like that.
Why not? A Foot Faster is like 80 points, and a unit of Guardians is like 150 points.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, okay. Yeah, no, okay, yeah. I take it back.
I think it's pretty common, Bridget, to be fair.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. This next one is from Ithrain.
Liam.
Oh my god.
Oh, but wait, Liam. Another one.
Oh,
from
Bridger. I hate it. Oh, oh my god, when he first started doing it was the last time I was here. So
Yeah.
we'd already hung out at No Retreat. You'd already been over to the UK, and you never did it. And this just came out of nowhere. You just walked in one day and started going, Liam.
So, I mean,
Like some simpleton. I don't know where it came from. I don't know. I felt like I was like, have you banged your head? What have you done on the way here to start this stupid noise? But for some reason, this is the thing that he's clinged on to, and he just constantly does it. And I was talking to Brian and Adrian during this week, and apparently he just does it all week. He's just walking around going, I'm not even here. I've not spoken to him. I've not phoned him. I've not none of that. And he's going, Liam. And I'm like, what? And to start with, when I got here to start with, I was like, oh, it's endearing. He loves me. It's great. And now I'm just sick of it. I'm just sick of it because it's like some terrible whale call going on throughout the studio. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, oh, nothing. What? Why have you said my name then? Why are you calling me? I'm not calling him, just saying your name. But why, Bridger?
so something you have to know about us, Liam. Me and Adrian are parrots. That's why we're always just singing random songs. If we hear a thing, we're like, noise association, right? So we go to England, and you guys have all these funny accents. You have a lot of them. And there's particular phrases that are very catchy, most of which I can't say.
Okay, yeah, true.
So we just get in the habit of saying these things because they're funny and catchy, and we're like, right?
This isn't a phrase.
And,
this is my
well,
name.
No, but Andy, it all started with Andy teaching us the greeting, a traditional greeting from, where were we? Where's Games Workshop?
In Nottingham.
Yeah, a Nottingham greeting was, "Hey up me duck." And we were like, that's nonsense. That's weird, but we started saying it all the time because it was funny. So Andy got us to say that traditional greeting of Nottingham, and we would just say it all the time because we thought it was hilarious. And then we would just start regurgitating other things. And then eventually we got to talking about Liam because we were talking about staying with you. So we came back, we talked on stream about staying with you. We were doing all these goofy voices and accents from all the parroting, the things we'd heard while we were there.
I got blamed, by your audience specifically, I got blamed for all of it as well. By the way, of all the people that you spoke to in the UK, I have one of the lesser accents.
You do. No, you do.
I speak more correctly than most of these lunatics that you spoke to.
not-
I got blamed for everything. I don't think I've ever in my life said the words, "A up me duck." It's just not something that comes out of my mouth. I always get the blame for it. People are like, you've ruined time. It's like, I haven't done anything. This is on them.
Yep. But you wear it well, Liam. You wear it super well. You take the blame like a champ. It's an us problem. I think Adrian and I will be pretty upfront about it being an us problem.
I
but
just
we
don't
can't.
know where this weird my name Tourette's comes from, Bridger, quite frankly.
I just told you. We were talking about you, staying with you on the stream after saying all these goofy phrases, and then Liam.
Why like that? Why?
Because that's the inflection of a northerner,
I don't,
which was one of the voices that we picked
why
out.
do you say it like you've banged your head 5 times? I don't get it. Because I feel like it's indicative of the kind of level of intelligence you think I might have.
No. It's like there are certain words that we say in certain accents, right? Champagnon, like a French champion.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Or like New Zealand, beetle tactic, like that's New Zealand, right? None of these are good accents.
No,
okay?
well, I mean, I'm here for it. This is the new show.
There are certain phonetics.
Can we change the members only voting to be what accent you have to play the whole game in?
No, because we can only do certain phrases. It's not like we can do everything.
Well, you better get practicing.
There are phonetics that make us think of certain languages. Liam is a very...
That's no phonetic. No.
It's a very British way of saying Liam. To the point where I can't even say Liam anymore. Liam.
It's every day. And it's repeated. The amount of times I've come in the studio in this last week, I just open the door and you're round the corner and all I hear is Liam. I want to just turn around. I can't. Like it's terrible. It's like a Dory trying to speak whale. It's awful, honestly. Awful.
It's pretty close. I mean, that's pretty close.
No.
Well, we have one more super chat that came in during all that. And it's from Jacob Bodmer. Chat got y'all turned into Pokemon.
Well, but I say your name,
Yeah.
and you say my name.
But I don't say your name. I just do it when they super chat it. I actually don't walk around and go, Bridger. It's not something I do.
You could. You could. And arguably you should.
No, that's not going to happen. And the worst part about this is I've actively been told, Jack, that he does this when I'm not here.
It's just when I think of you, Liam.
I mean, apparently that's a lot. I should, yeah.
It's very sweet.
I'm worried that at one point you've been wearing my face.
I think we nailed it. I think this was a good talk. And Liam, I think it was great to have you here.
I love it.
We're gonna miss you.
I want to come more frequently. I said to Adrian before, I want to try and come twice a year. It's expensive, but it's fun. But I mean, apparently it's not so expensive because you keep telling chat that all the donated memberships help get me out here. So there's a
That's not
refund coming.
exactly what I said.
I mean, it is.
I said it's what enables us to have our friends over to play games.
Yeah, right. Well, so what does that imply?
Well, the doors would be closed if there was no income. That you wouldn't be here playing with us because we wouldn't be here.
But I'd like to come over more often because I think it's amazing. I have lots of fun. I think we have a good giggle. It's hard trying to behave for a whole week. But, you know,
It's hard.
I think it's been really good. We've done a cool series as well over on my channel. Adrian and I started this because he essentially screwed me on Tuesday. And it ended up running a lot longer than we expected, but it's been a ton of fun. It's been really interesting. We've learnt loads. So if you guys are interested, we're slowly but surely reviewing every single faction for the new 10th edition indexes over on my channel. We've done 3 out of 4 episodes. We've got the 4th one tomorrow. We're gonna wrap up the last factions before I then basically disappear off up to the airport, get on a jet plane, and go and fly home and see my wife and children.
Are you gonna make plane noises?
No.
I would.
I'm sure you would, yeah. I'm sure Parrot Bridger would make those noises on a plane.
It's like a similar. It's the thing that makes me grab a knife and go is also the thing that makes me go Liam.
Is that why you haven't come back over to the UK yet? Is it because you sit on an American Airlines flight going meow and they've asked you not to come back? Is that what's happened? Is that what's happened here? Yeah. Or were you sat halfway up in the air and you've gone, like, oh no, we can't have him here. That's not a thing we're allowed on flights.
We have another super chat.
I'm just stringing it out to get you some more money so you can pay for my flight.
This is from Doug P. Thank you, Doug. Liam and Bridger on a podcast would be a treasure. For CSM, is HB with Laz, Havocs with Laz, and Tua Blitz enough anti-tank in this edition? Other options?
HB with Laz? What's that?
A heavy bolter with las cannon.
That doesn't make sense. What? Hellbrute.
Hellbrute with
Nailed
Laz.
it. Havocs with Laz, which is 4 and 2 a blitz, enough anti-tank. I think you need, in this edition, honestly, I think you need more. I feel like a Hellbrute with Laz cannons is okay, but he's not going to be doing a ton of damage on his own. And actually, you kind of want him for the aura of getting lethal hits and sustained hits on a unit. Havocs with Laz, I'm really into right now. I think perhaps 2 units of those. Obliterators, I'm not sold on at all, currently. Actually, I would consider even thinking about Predators with all Laz cannons in Chaos Space Marines. I think Predators are compelling now because tanks are a big deal. I'm not against the Vindicators. They're a bit too many points. We spoke about this a little bit earlier. 210 points for a Vindicator. It's a bit high, but they have got some good damage output, and they can shoot into combat. It's not where I'd go, but it's an option at least. What else? Abaddon is great into tanks. Abaddon's great into everything, to be fair. What else could you take? Bridger, help me.
I mean, I've been preaching 6 to 8 Laz cannons, and this list has 5.
Yeah?
So you need more.
Honestly, it sounds silly. Strongly consider a Land Raider. You get those 4 Laz cannons, and you get some good delivery for Terminators and units like that.
Yeah.
I would actually strongly consider a Land Raider. They're not ridiculous in points. They add in the 4 Laz cannons. You drop the Obliterators, chuck in, and this is a lot more points I'm aware, but drop the Obliterators, chuck in a Land Raider and another 5 Havocs with Laz cannons. I think you've probably got what you need.
We have a lovely stew going.
Yeah. I think you've got what you need then at that point.
Chat's
Absolutely.
saying HB is Hellbrute.
Yeah, Hellbrute.
Okay.
Yeah.
You figured that
We
one
nailed it.
Okay,
We
cool.
nailed it.
I blanked out.
What you can't do is buy Contemptors and Leviathans.
The Legends rules came out. You can play them Legends.
Yes, because how many people play Legends, Bridger? No one.
Me sometimes.
No one plays them. No one plays Legends. Legends. No one plays Legends. It doesn't happen. It's not a thing that happens. Okay.
Well, Liam, we did it. It's time for us to get you some food and get you off to bed.
I'm actually hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
It was a lovely game. I had a great time. I hope you did.
It's been great fun. I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed running Eldar. I actually enjoyed seeing what Knights could do as well.
Yeah. Thanks again, Lindsay, for producing. Thanks, chat, for hanging in there with us.
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm going to miss you too, Liam.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that voice actually. Maybe.
Don't make me say it again.
I want you to record it so I can set it as my text tone. So every time you message me, my phone just goes, Liam.
Aww.
That won't get boring
That's
anytime
so
soon.
sweet.
We could do that. That's the thing we could do. Cool.
Well, we're going to catch you guys next time on the Tabletop. Bye.
Bye.